Should have put my coasters on in here. Tie chill. Everybody take a deep breath with me. Inhale. Exhale. All right. I saw a few out there. Now I need to shake some shoulders, guys. Let's get one out. Inhale. Exhale. You guys are all smiling. Everybody loves to breathe. You know, sometimes I wonder if trees had Wi-Fi, we'd be saving the planet and having a heck of a cell phone connection. Let's not forget to breathe, though, guys. That first breath you took with me, we can thank every single plant on the face of the earth like we've always known to do. Right? The second breath you guys took with me, that deeper breath, that 70% of the oxygen that our planet needs, we can thank the liquid love story, the ocean. Yeah. The ocean is responsible for our climate. It's responsible for our weather here on Earth. Even me being a Kansas boy, I know that the rain that falls on our crops comes from the ocean. One day it returns to that ocean. So when things like this happen, we have to all come together. This is about education tonight. It's about respect tonight. We had some great speakers tonight, great emotions tonight. Of course, I didn't prepare a PowerPoint. I didn't know about that. I didn't prepare a speech either, guys, so I just figured we kind of wing it like we do every day, right? So really, we have some things to address as far as it's a lot more than just Lake Okeechobee, guys. Sometimes we want to start placing the blame on different people. You know, we want to say, oh, it's the farmers over here. You know, I consider myself a farmer myself, and I'm certainly a pretty good one at that. A lot of people know me as an algae scientist. They don't know that I'm a former crop consultant and precision ag specialist as well. I know quite a bit about the game and how we can get better at it. Precision agriculture is using variable rate seed applications, variable rate fertilizing. You guys might have caught the video that I made trying to get Big Sugar to get a hold of me because I had a business proposal, you know, that we start farming water instead of sugar here in the state of Florida. Yeah. You know, kudos to the scientists on the last panel that gave a shout out to that. You know, it sounds like an interesting concept, yes, but if we think about how valuable water is in the state of Florida, how could we possibly place anything else above that? But I tell you what, those sugar farmers are doing about 70% better than they were 20 years ago environmentally. And they're doing that by following the guidelines that we force them to follow. Yes, I think we need to increase those. Yes, I think buffer places need to be put into place. Buffer zones, excuse me. I'm not used to watching all these people. But there's great things that we can implement. Better ways to farm. We all have to be responsible. That's where each and every one of you come in. People all the time, we want to put blame. If you have 10 fingers and 10 toes and you walk on 2, it's your fault. This is my fault too, guys. This is a result of living in a wrong way. The cyanobacteria, we know that that's blooms caused by nutrient pollution. Like that first video I said, I'll stand by it to this day. We do not have an algae problem in the state of Florida. We have a nutrient pollution problem. Thank you, guys. We have to understand how to get that ramp. You know, talking and cheering is one thing. But are we ready to make our yards look a little different? You know, because I've always said if Trump says he's going to make America great again, then Captain Planet's going to make Florida natural again. I'll tell you something. You know, I live in the Florida Keys, and one of my former jobs, I just kind of had to resign for you guys, but I would travel. You're very welcome. You guys are my family. You're my relatives. That's why when I addressed you in my language, it's out of respect. That's what somebody does when they try to introduce themselves with respect. So it's all about respect to me, because if we were respecting each other and ourselves, maybe we'd respect the mother. And I know some of us dudes out there with our ego problems got a little mad about my video about respecting women a little bit better in this country. But I tell you what, if we treated our ladies a little bit better, maybe we'd treat Big Mama a little bit better. Mother Earth's just a little bit too hippie for me, so I like to call her Big Mama. You know, so whatever floats your boat and keeps the lettuce green, right, guys? We have to learn how we can smile through these times. I'm very optimistic. You know, in the 90s, I was one of those guys saying, hey, save the ozone layer. Do you guys remember that one? Save the ozone layer? Do you guys hear about that anymore? It's not because I have a Facebook account. It's because when we scientists solve a problem, we don't sit around for a pat on the back. We get to the next problem and we keep our nose to the grindstone. We don't talk about the ozone layer because we fixed it. It's currently in the process of being fixed. All countries of the world came together through NATO, and they banned CFCs, made them illegal in refrigeration, made them illegal in hairsprays. We came together as an earth because all of you believed a few thousand scientists, and you came together. We don't have to sit up here and convince you guys of anything. I didn't have to do anything to fill up this room. My dead homies out there did that. You know, so I'm very optimistic because now you guys are listening. I see that now. You know, maybe I would have started doing those videos a long time ago. I've always been talking like this, guys. I just only had a Facebook since Irma because I was living in a tool shed. Boy, tip your hats to that little lady, right? What a big piece of humble pie. You know, because what she did is gave everybody a reminder that no matter how far we get from Earth, we're still a part of it. You know, because I've been spending the last several years of my life dedicating something that's really strong in my heart, the reef. Trying not to cry, darn it. It's a beautiful, magic world out there, guys, and it's dying. Over half of our reef is dead now, and it's the third largest reef in the world. You know, moats, and these guys are my heroes. You know, they work diligently to help. You know, and sometimes we let politics get in the game of things. Well, I tell you what, my little buddy Al Gore did more damage to this planet than Trump has the power to. Why is because he made so much unfathomable false comments about global warming that people, even scientists, stopped believing in global warming. Does everybody believe in dinosaurs? Cool, we believe in global warming. We can move on to the next one. Who wants to talk about some duckweed? Yeah? All right, cool. Because I'd love to tell this little story. I'm a bit of a storyteller, so somebody wave me when I need to start shutting up. I'm all about ending it a little bit early so we can have time for our questions and answers because I know that's important to everybody. But I also want to use this chance to talk a little bit about duckweed. My family has been using duckweed for over a decade, right? That's cool. We got a new t-shirt. Duckweed sounds like a Nike brand. Just clean it. Oh, you gotta love it. Hey, this is what happens when you don't prepare. You always get something fun. Now, duckweed, my family has been using this for over a decade to clean out nitrates and phosphates out of septic ponds. It's not some far-fetched story. It's patented by my family with over a decade of research. You know, my uncle Kelly Coover has been working on this diligently. You know, his brother was one of the guys that helped invent artificial insemination in cattle. These are brilliant men. But sometimes brilliant men have a hard time talking to everybody else. That's when Captain Planet tries to come in. As I tell you what, sometimes we just complicate things so much. And we get lost a bit in the middle. So, like John likes to say, clean water. I love that because it's simple. It's sweet and to the point. That's what we're all here about. Now, duckweed, I proposed floating greenhouses to contain the duckweed. As people would know, even though there's 3 species native to Florida, in a Okeechobee-type setting, which is like a septic pond right now, that would get pretty invasive pretty fast. At this point, however, I'm not sure what you guys think is worse, a duckweed invasion or a cyanobacteria invasion. Thank you, because it doesn't produce BMAAs, and I'll tell you something else it does. It takes a lot of carbon, guys. You guys ever heard of that word? You know, carbon sequestering. A lot of people don't know that seagrass actually sequesters just as much carbon as the Amazon rainforest. So when people talk about not coming to Florida for tourism, I think that this is the most important year in the history of Earth to come visit Florida. Why? Is because the Earth needs it. There's only one Everglades. There's only one third largest reef in the world. Coral reefs, even though they're less than 0.1%, they are home to 25% of the species, guys. You know, so John, when you bring up something like a sparrow, well, that's something that we need to consider right there. Now, there's a few endangered species in the Everglades that would suffer. However, I'm up here because my reef has been getting choked out for a long time. You know, 6,000 to 9,000 years that water's been flowing the way it should be, and now it's not. So we need to use this duckweed permaculture and get our waters clean. If we go skimming the algae, it's going to come right back because it has the pollutions. It has the nutrients. Duckweed takes the nitrates and phosphates out of the water, and it does it at a rate that's exponential. It doubles in mass every 24 hours when I tinker with it the way I do under a greenhouse. It's kind of why I want some floating greenhouses too. When you get to play God a little bit, it's fun. But the only time you should play God in nature is when everybody else has been playing the devil for so long. So we have to figure out. Man caused this, guys. Man caused this. So man can fix this. You know, when we look at history, which I love history, because a man that learns from history is bound to not repeat it. And when I look at the rates, that, Doctor, I'm sure you know too, our rates of increasing ocean acidification, they're starting to mimic the Devonian era as we approach this, as we're starting to see the spikes go up and up. The Devonian extinction, we lost almost all life on Earth because our oceans got too acidic too fast. Humans weren't around then to blame, but we know a few things, and humans are a lot to blame. We didn't start global warming, but we've sped it up about 700 to 900 years, a lot of scientists are saying. Now, you know, we need to get ourselves wrapped in all thoughts of conservation. We're here to protect clean water. I'd rather drink from that river than drink out of a plastic bottle myself. And I'm not putting anybody down. Now, I thank everybody for making sure that we had water. That's a gift. But what I'm saying is we have to make sure every single conscious decision. I'm not drinking out of plastic. I refuse to do that. I'll go thirsty before I drink out of a plastic bottle. If we all thought and we all lived like Captain Planet, I think that we'd be doing pretty darn good pretty quick. You know, so... And people think that I've been like this forever. I'll tell you the truth. 8 years of schooling in conservation without no PhD. I just thought I was cool enough to get away with whatever. Hey, might have worked a little bit. But I never recycled once. 8 years of college, guys, I never recycled. And 8 years of college in conservation. Why? Because I was a creature of habit. You know, and here's the truth. My father actually helped start one of the first recycling plants in the state of Kansas because he works as a nuclear engineer, and they had the money to do it before the state could. But here's the honest truth. My dad didn't make it fun. You know, and sometimes I get in trouble, and sometimes I'd associated recycling with some not so fun memories. So what are we doing? We got to make it cool. You know, because I don't know if anybody grew up on Saved by the Bell. Nobody wanted to be Screech. Screech never had a girlfriend. You know, but maybe if A.C. Slater or Zach Morris threw on a lab coat, more people would want to become scientists. More people would want to become real things. Our children are out here, guys, our little ones. See you kids, I love you. You guys are why I'm here. I see you over there, buddy. You guys are why I'm here. Because we do not inherit this earth from our parents. It's on consignment, guys. We borrow it from our children, and we forgot that. Now, it doesn't mean it's our parents' fault and our grandparents' fault. They didn't know what they were doing wrong. We are all in a room together because we have realized that we have been living in a wrong way. As Americans, we like to push and push and push and push. But we've realized we've been pushing ourselves in the wrong direction. There's a way to live with the earth and a way not to live with the earth. And we're finding out, even the businessmen, that it's in your best interest to live with the earth. You know what state spends almost more money than any other state on renewable clean energy? God bless Texas, baby. The oil state, that's right. Because even a businessman can understand this just makes sense on the right side of a pen. I don't need to convince you of conservation, because conservation, in the end, is business. Why do you think that? You ever heard of the brand Patagonia? It was some dirtbag named Yvon Chouinard selling mountain climbing equipment out of his car as he was living in state parks. I used to do the same. But it's conservationists that make some of the best businessmen that the world has ever seen. Because sometimes we can take a step back. That's why a lot of the people that support the Captain Planet project are realtors. They're businessmen, they're resorts, same ones that I've always stood by. Those resorts in the Florida Keys, for example, they used to really hurt our seagrass beds and our mangroves. Why is because of tourism. Tourists like me from Kansas would come there to the Keys, and they would complain about that nasty, disgusting smell that we associate seagrass with. So Ricky and Daryl and Bobby, on the cleanup crew, they'd be going out there trying to figure out ways to get rid of the seagrass beds. Why? It's because it was their livelihood, tourism. People said they weren't coming back, and this was a problem. Well, then when the state come in and realized how important our seagrass beds were, how important our reef was, how important our mangroves were, they made them illegal to alter in any way. Did these resorts get up and riot about being mad that they couldn't kill the seagrass? No, they looked over and said, well, where do we find a marine biologist to come teach our guests about why we need seagrass and mangroves? And Captain Planet came in. So we make it fun to learn, make it fun to educate, because we need our ecosystem. Florida is the ecosystem. You can't run a business in Florida on a crashing ecosystem, guys. It's common sense. It's common sense. This is a game of sustainability right here. And like I always say, sustainability isn't a hippie thing, it's a survival thing. When I go camping for a week, I usually take a week full of food and a week full of water. So we need to rely a little bit on some common sense. And speaking of some common sense as well, a lot of people get real hard on some scientists because we like to rely on data. Trust me, guys. I'm not like a real scientist. I'm kind of weird. I mean, we all are, but I'm really weird. Sometimes my motto is never be afraid to go out on a limb, because that's where all the fruit is. I'd like to clear some things up because, for example, when some companies come out and they say that red tide is natural, they're not lying to you, really, because as a scientist, I'll tell you that's the only proof that I have is that it's natural. And as a scientist, that's what I'm supposed to say. But when you're Garrett, you kind of just do what you want. But it's a matter of understanding the biology. Me as an algae biologist, I understand this stuff a little bit. And even when we're talking about red tide, K. brevis, people don't understand that, yes, it needs photosynthesis to survive. But its limiting factor for growth is nitrogen and phosphorus. And not only that, when we've done testings in labs, we can get the red tide to grow in a petri dish almost 5 times faster with phosphorus than we can nitrogen. You can even get on, if you have cell phones, I'll never say this again about Wikipedia, but you can even read on Wikipedia that phosphate mining is associated with a lot of outbreaks. Now, what I'm trying to say is, if we know that the nutrient pollution problems are causing cyanobacterial blooms, and we're discharging that disgusting water into our oceans like I warned them not to do, we expected to see this. When you send a freshwater algae who's obviously bloomed because of accessible nitrates and phosphates, and you send him to the ocean is salt water, guys. I'm sure we all know that. Freshwater critters usually don't survive in salt water. The freshwater algae goes out to the ocean, dies in the salt water. It's not exactly a story like the Lord of the Rings. There's a little thing called Newton's third law of thermodynamics. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. So it's not a magical little thing that happens where all the nitrates and phosphates just simply disappear into thin air. You know, and when we know with the biology that the K. brevis needs nitrogen and phosphorus, you know, then we can start to tie in. You know, Moat Marine Labs, I'm sure they're doing that too. Everybody's on the same page. Maybe not our politicians and some things like that, but trust me, it's in nobody's best interest, unless maybe you believe in angels and you're working for the devil. It's in nobody's best interest to just kill the earth. We all have to sleep here tonight, guys. There's no planet B. It does not make sense to make a few dollars now. You know, even these guys with Big Sugar, for example, they have children. You know, what kind of man wants to poison his child? What kind of man would want to take a meal from his child? You know, but in 2050, it's projected that there'll be more of this than fish in our ocean. And I'm not talking about water, because we obviously know there's more water than fish. I'm talking about the plastic. You know, and we talk about K. brevis, for example. It's a type of plankton, let's say. If we combine all plankton in the ocean, right now on this day, not in 2050, but on whatever it day is, whatever this year, somebody, cool. On this day, there is an 8-to-1 ratio of microplastics versus plankton in our ocean. So let us not get lost here of the big picture. We need to understand we don't have to just buy water, that we can buy filters. You know, when you live consciously every single day, you'll notice how to fix something. And when I went 8 years in conservation and didn't recycle, and then I learned my impact, I thought, oh my God, I wonder what everybody else is doing who doesn't even care. And Captain Planet's sitting here chugging water bottles. So I started to change. You know, every single day I strive to be better than I was the day before. And after a few years, people started calling me Captain Planet, and I'd been called so much worse, I just started going with it. You know, but the Captain Planet project wasn't founded as an algae solution. You know, it was founded as an educational outreach program and environmental consulting. Scary part is it's all free. But when an algae scientist lives in the same state as an algae problem, he wants to come rush up and check it out. You know, so I really think, you know, ozone, for example, something great for our canals. We need to figure out something great for Lake Okeechobee so we can clean the water before we send it south. You know, duckweed, it takes that carbon out of the air, right? That's that stuff increasing global warming. So we could literally, I would take a duckweed infestation over a blue-green algae infestation, but your only byproduct is a 38% crude protein, which that's what you feed to cattle, livestock. So we would also be, oh, there's my ancestors right there. Yeah, all right. Now, it's a beautiful thing because 38% crude protein, that means that we would actually lower agricultural pressure on livestock versus humans. Not only that, but with that carbon sequestering, we could actually help lower or at least stall global warming, ocean acidification, speed up coral restoration. Oh, and there's another little thing. We figured out how to make these duckweed mats into biological solar panels. Yeah. So we would only need, theoretically, on paper, we would only need about 900,000 square aquatic acres to power the United States of America with electricity. Yeah, so when I'm given a problem, I like to turn it into 5 solutions if I can. I think we got 4 of them banged out, but I'm sure there's going to be another something coming around. There's 10 years of research on this, guys. There's 10 years of data. This isn't a hoax. This isn't something from some long-haired hippie on a Facebook video, I promise. There's a lot of truth to this, guys. And we could literally be growing duckweed in the Florida Keys. Duckweed is fresh water, as most of us know. However, all we would need is design some kind of a membrane, preferably out of a strong, durable plant-based plastic. Now, all I would need is about 4 inches of fresh water to make a duckweed pond. And we could float these in the actual Florida Keys where we don't get a lot of waves. And we could actually globally work on coral as far as globally knock down the warming, knock down the ocean acidification. Because what mankind did is we sped up global warming. When we replaced those CFCs that we made illegal because of the ozone layer, we replaced them with what we call greenhouse gases. Ding, 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 that ring a bell. Yeah, this is all making sense now, isn't it, guys? Got away with that. Now, if mankind is the one doing things wrong, that's why I'm not worried at all. That's an easy fix. Mankind fixes it. You know? It's not like this isn't Independence Day and we're Will Smith being attacked by aliens. It's us. You know, why we've been busy declaring war on terrorism. The earth declared war on terrorism. You know, and we're the terrorists, guys. You know, my people have always told a story about one day the thunder beings were going to come and wake up the earth. They're out there right now. You know, but they talked about a time where we look at it happening. The old Lakotas are saying the same thing the scientists are saying. Say that the thunder beings are coming. They're going to wake up the earth. When she wakes up, she's going to be angry. She's going to want to wake up the grandmother earth. That's the old stuff, the lava. There's a prophecy that said in 7 generations, something will happen on earth where all colors of mankind will have to live with the earth instead of against it or perish. I'm the 7th generation. Everybody here is. Irma, that's what you call a thunder being, dudes. You know, so when we can sit here and possibly prove one day that as we're choking out the Everglades and what it does to the cation exchange capacity, lowers the barometric pressure change, which our dudes over at the weather station would confirm that that would be inviting hurricanes in. A lot of times I like to talk to the old timers because when my science matches their stories, something's going to get proved rather quickly, or it's worth taking your time to prove. Because that's what we need is scientific data. People have stopped relying on science simply because one guy without a microscope said that you came from monkeys. You know, we all come from mushrooms. Everybody knows that, right? Why are you guys still arguing about step 27 that we can't prove? But thank you, guys. You know, it's all about the understanding, the education. I hope you guys check out the Captain Planet Project on Facebook. We try to just keep it real, keep it fun, and keep it for the kids. You know, so thank you, guys. I can see you standing by me, and I've been storytelling too long, just like this guy. You were the only one professional enough to come prepared. Thanks, buddy.